Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Most of the time I like to spit game, talk about mind, body, and soul issues, daily discipline, try to figure out topics that can help us become stronger, smarter. Sometimes I just like to tell stories, so let's get into one of those times. You ever have a chick that was just nothing but trouble? A relationship with somebody who was just bad news? I've had a bunch of those relationships. Let me tell you about Michelle from Vegas. Michelle from Vegas, she was a wild chick. I was living in Santa Cruz. This was the early 90s. My dad had just gotten murdered, gang war. I was fucked up over it too. I was having a hard time getting over it. That first year after my dad got murdered was tough. And I was kind of out of my mind. I moved out to Santa Cruz. I don't even know why. Right after my dad got murdered, I moved out to Santa Cruz. And Santa Cruz was a weird town. When I first got there, I was living on the west side. And fuck the west side. But I was living over there. Right on Seaside. Was it Seaside? Yeah, it's a Seaside house. Big hippie house. Might still be there. 114 Seaside. Nice fucking place. Big property. 5 or 6 roommates. Mostly lesbian chicks. They'd all fuck each other and then have drama and argue and whatever. Lesbians are like that. They would argue with me almost on a nightly basis about philosophical topics. I was the only straight guy in the house. They had a little garden out back with a compost pile and whatever, vegetables and all kinds of shit. And they'd be out there topless. Bunch of naked, dreadlock lesbian chicks gardening in the dirt. So that's where I lived, and one of the chicks was named Angela, and she was bisexual, and she was kind of wild. Angela would never wear any underwear, and she would always wear long frilly dresses, and many times, you know, like, what do you call those? Like a whole body dress, not just a skirt. I don't know about chick fashion, but she wouldn't have nothing on underneath there, and she liked to flash people. So you could be talking to her just about nothing, about paying the electric bill, anything, and she would just pull her dress up over her head, and titties and pussy, everything be hanging out. Angela was, she was kind of nerdy, glasses, librarian type of vibe, but real cute. She hooked up with this fucking punk rock guy, Mohawk, Orange County punk, and they were kind of an interesting couple, but they broke up in a real weird way. It turns out he had AIDS, HIV, and he was fucking her the whole time. And he knew he had AIDS. She didn't. So she went through a long process after that relationship breaking up of being single and going to the doctor and trying to get AIDS tests and whatever. Well, Angela's sister, who's from Las Vegas, Michelle, came to stay with us because Angela's sister had some sort of relationship drama of her own, and she wanted to come and stay with her sister for the summer. So for about 3 months, Angela and Michelle were both living in Angela's room. Angela had a pretty big room. It was like the first night Michelle was there, the first week at least. I'm sitting around with one of the other roommates in my room. We're drinking, smoking pot, listening to music, just chilling. I get a little knock on the door. And it's rather late, and it's Michelle. And she's wearing her pajamas. And she says, Angela is taking up the whole bed. She keeps kicking me. I need a place to sleep. I'm gonna sleep in your bed with you. That's what she said. I look over at my buddy who's sitting in the room with me, and I tell him, take a hike. He looks at me and laughs. He's like, really? Are you kidding? I was like, no, I'm not kidding. Get out. He walks off laughing. So Michelle came in and spent the night, and we hooked up, and that was that. The next morning, it was like we were like a married couple. We just clicked. We had a real steamy fling for a few months, and just fucked like rabbits 10 times a day until we were just sore. And then she went back to Vegas. And right as she went back to Vegas, I was trying to make the transition. You ever made the transition? You know what I'm talking about? From one woman to another, the seamless transition. When I knew that Michelle was leaving. And she told me her date, and she bought her plane ticket, and I was like, all right, well, I guess this is ending. And I had met this other girl, Danette. I met Danette at a bar one night. And she was cute. She was a college student who had, where was she from? Oklahoma or something? Her dad was a sheriff. She had bright red hair, natural red hair. So I was dating both Danette and Michelle for like a week, having messages on my voicemail from both of them and just kind of being a player. Michelle went to Vegas, and I'm with Danette. Me and Danette are rolling around one night. We come home from a date, dinner, and a movie, and that kind of thing, and come back to my place, and we're rolling around in the bed. And it's rather passionate, and she's like, oh, Sky, oh, Sky. And I say, oh, Michelle, oh, Michelle. She looks at me, pushes me away, and she's like, what? Michelle? Who the fuck is Michelle? I had messed up. So I made up an excuse, which was somewhat true. Michelle had already gone, even if it was just a couple days ago. And I said, oh, that was my former girlfriend before I met you. And the lie was the timeline, really. And she was like, okay, we continued our frolicking and spent the night together, had a fine evening. The next morning, she's waking up, putting on her work clothes. She worked at some restaurant, Olive Garden or some bullshit, and they got their little work outfit. And she puts her work outfit on, and she's buttoning up her shirt. I grab some underwear that's stashed in the very bottom of my covers. And it was just way down in there, and I wrestled it out and threw it to her. Some black thong, G-string, whatever. It lands on her, and she picks it up and she looks at it, and she's like, is this belong to Michelle? And I say, no, it's your underwear. And she's like, I'm dressed, dummy. I'm wearing my underwear. And it was Michelle's underwear from a couple days before, from her last day. And I guess it was just stashed down in there. Oops. I sent Danette flowers to her work. I called and apologized. That was over. Well, about a week or so, 2 weeks, still that same month, a couple weeks go by, and Angela, roommate, she had hooked up with this guy Flip. And this guy Flip was a musician, and he was a real nice guy, overly nice, where I was suspicious because I liked Angela and kind of treated her like a sister, and Flip was too perfect and too nice, and I was just like, what's up with you, dude? I remember meeting him and kind of grilling him and being like, oh yeah, what do you do for a living? And who do you hang out with? And I just didn't trust him for some reason, but he was right on time and perfect for her. They get married right away. They have a funny themed marriage. They did a theme wedding, costume wedding, where you dress up like Frankenstein. They dressed up like Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein, and then everybody else showed up like Dracula and the Werewolf and the Mummy and shit like that. And it was at their wedding reception, which was up at Flip's house, way up in the mountains. He lived up in Ben Lomond or Bonnie Doon, way the fuck up in the redwoods, up in the mountains above Santa Cruz. And they had their party. And I wasn't invited to the wedding because it was limited, and I didn't mind. I wasn't a costume kind of motherfucker anyways. I'm not showing up some stupid ass costume to some wedding. But I enjoyed the pictures, and it sounded like a funny time. But I'm perfectly happy to go and drink beer and smoke pot with you guys at your house at the fucking reception. at the party. So I'm up there at his house, way up in the woods. Winding road all the way up. And I'm partying, having a good time. And Michelle's there. Not really a surprise. I had kind of wondered in the back of my mind, kind of hoped maybe we could have a little reunion. And she had changed her hair a little bit. She had lost a little bit of weight, got in a little better shape, and she was looking fine, looking good. Oh man. We started chatting, we just kind of separated ourselves off and had this great conversation. Our relationship, when we were just dating for those few months, was really just all about sex. We never really talked much. And this time we sat and talked for like an hour and a half. And just me and her. Like the whole party was just not even there. And she's going through some drama and some weird shit that she's going through in Vegas. But whatever. I had my own drama. We go outside to smoke a joint because I had a joint on me. And it's just us, and it's real nice. And it's in the redwoods. The house is surrounded by woods. They got a big, giant gravel parking lot in front of the house, but the house is kind of tucked in the woods. And we're smoking a joint. The party's going on behind us in the house. They got a big front porch. We finish the joint, we're sitting there talking, we start holding hands, we start hugging, we start kissing, we're making out. And it's like passionate kisses. She's like jumped down my throat. And as I'm kissing her, I'm sitting there kissing her, I'm facing the house, she's facing this way. I kind of noticed there's this dude standing on the porch. It's just some guy looking at me. And I'm drunk, I'm a tough guy. And I stop what I'm doing and I say, can I help you? I'm thinking this guy is a little bit out of line here. He needs to go the fuck back in the house is what I'm going to tell him. And he says, yeah, why are you kissing my wife? I look at Michelle and I say, wife? What the hell is this guy talking about? Who the fuck is this guy? And she's drunk and she's giggly and smiley and her makeup is all smeared because we were just fucking making out. And she's like, yeah, that's my husband. I just married him a couple months ago or something, or a month ago, just recently. And she's like, don't mind him. The door opens. Grandma, mom, dad, uncle, her family, Angela's family, Michelle's family, these are sisters, are now pouring out into the front porch. And they say, well, Steve, because that's this guy's name, and he's real clean cut, wearing one of these short sleeve button up shirts and a little tie. And I'm like, what's going on, Steve? And he's like, well, this guy's kissing my wife. The whole family starts coming down off the porch against me. Michelle disappears into the group, giggles, walks away giggling, like an evil little fairy. And I'm just backing up into the parking lot. I'm looking for my keys. They're getting madder. I can hear the mumblings. Kick his ass. Beat him up, Steve. Fuck him up. I figured, man, I need to get the fuck out of here. This is crazy shit. So I back up. They backed me up. A big group of people, they backed me up in this standoff. I kept a little distance. And they started to go faster. They didn't break into a run, but they were moving faster and faster to close that distance. I jumped in my fucking van. I sped off out of that parking lot kicking rocks. They were throwing rocks. I heard one rock hit the back of the van. That wasn't from me kicking it up. That was from one of them throwing it. I looked in my little side mirror because I couldn't see nothing through the rear view. I looked through the side mirror as I'm speeding off out of their fucking little driveway, and they're all, there's like 25 of them out there now, the whole party, and they're just like, oh! Fucking Michelle from Vegas, man. She'd get me in trouble. And if I saw her right now, well, I don't know what I would do. She just had a spell over me for some reason. Thanks for watching.